Hello everybody, it's Nicole here, Family Resource Worker with Our Children Our Future, and I am coming to you today for our Family Matters program, and today we're going to be talking about swimming safety and water safety when it comes to our children. So we're going to jump right in. I just wanted to note a couple things. So I did get my references today and my resources from a couple different websites. The first website that I want to reference, and it will either be above or beside or below depending on what device you're viewing this on. So I did get my resources from the Health Canada website as well as redcross.ca website. So these are both well-known Canadian websites that specifically focus on swim safety and the safety of our lives and families. So I will reference those into the side. The other thing I want to mention is that redcross.ca has some really cool interactive features as well. I'm going to be doing a little quiz with you guys that I actually got right from their website, as well as they have coloring pages on life jacket safety, as one of the fine things that are wrong in this picture that are unsafe for older kids, as well as kind of like a quiz that you can do and choose the correct statements. So there are some fun activities if you wanted to get your kids more engaged about water safety. I'm also going to link our information for the different sites, phone numbers in case you need to contact one of the staff to discuss any of these matters further. I will link down the phone numbers you can reach staff at below. So let's go ahead and jump in. So let's talk about water safety and swimming safety. During this presentation, there are some very sobering and heartbreaking facts. Especially if you know someone who has had a child drowned, or if you yourself has had a child drowned. It can be devastating for a family. And so I want to just put this out there that there are some pretty startling statistics in this presentation. And it's even doing the presentation, it breaks my heart to think about this stuff. So just know we are here for you if you need to talk. Send us a message, or you can definitely give us a call on those numbers that are noted in the comments in the description section. So there are some things I'm definitely going to be reading right from some of my material, just so I don't get any facts or information incorrect. So if you see me kind of looking off to the sides, because I'm reading my material that I have pulled up as well. Okay, so did you know that one of the leading causes of death in children 1 to 4 years old is drowning? So carefully supervising your children, securing the area around your backyard pool, and teaching your children about water safety are a few ways that you can help prevent serious injury or death for children ages 1 to 4. I am going to get into some more statistics a little bit later on, but I thought we would jump into it with a quiz just to get our brains going and everything like that. Obviously, this is a pre-recorded video, so you can just play along at home. No one will know what your answers are, but it's just a way to kind of get you thinking again about water safety in your children and what you might do as a parent as well. So the first question, and again, this quiz is taken right off of the redcross.ca website. I believe I left out the one question at the very end just because it didn't really pertain to children so much. But if you are interested in looking at the full quiz, you can find that on the redcross.ca website. So the first question they ask is, while your children are swimming, it's okay to read the newspaper, chat on the phone, or leave them unsupervised just for a couple of minutes. True or false? If you answered false, you would be correct. Half of Canadian parents believe they can effectively supervise children in the water by listening for signs of the problem. However, drowning kills silently. There are usually no audible signs of distress, and the Red Cross says the absence of adult supervision is a factor that leads to most children drowning. Parents and guardians should always watch their children actively around water, even if they can swim and even if there are lifeguards on duty. So again, this means no scrolling through social media on Facebook, or no scrolling through social media on your phone. If you're chatting with a friend, always keeping your eyes on your children at all times, and having that side conversation, which can be very difficult. Not reading a book, not reading the newspaper, or doing any other activities while your children are swimming. It's literally being present while they're swimming. Even better, be in the water with them. So the second question is, a child only needs to wear a life jacket if they're on a boat. True or false? If you answered false, you would be correct. So 1 in 5 Canadians say that they would let their child under 6 years old play near the water without a life jacket. In reality, 4 out of 5 children this age drown because they enter the water unintentionally. The 4 out of 5 children who have drowned entered the water unintentionally. So this could be chasing after a toy, maybe they see a shell, maybe the wave just caught them, knocked them down kind of thing, and now they're face down in the water, they're struggling to get up. The Red Cross also states that inflatables such as water wings, swim rings, or other flotation devices are not substitutes for a Canadian approved standard life jacket. Weak and inexperienced swimmers should wear Canadian approved standard life jackets and remain under constant adult supervision. We're going to talk more about flotation devices and water wings and things like that a little bit farther down in our presentation. So let's keep on rolling through here. So the next question is, most in-ground home pools are unsafe for diving even if they're fitted with a diving board. True or false? If you said true, you'd be right. So most in-ground pools are not deep enough or safe enough for diving. It's best not to dive into a backyard pool head first to avoid injury. Always enter the water feet first. So that this means cannonballing off of the diving board, belly flopping, whatever you need to do, just do not dive in head first. Even if you think you can do a shallow dive, this is often how serious neck injuries and deaths occur. Okay, the next question, that this is the right order of actions to take if you see someone drowning. So step 1, shout out for help. Step 2, reach or throw in a rescue or flotation device. And step 3, call 911 if needed. True or false that those are the correct steps to take? If you said true, you would be right. If you encounter someone who is drowning, it's important to remember the correct order of actions, which is, again, shout out for help, reach or throw a rescue or flotation device, and call 911 if needed. The Red Cross says if you see a swimmer in distress, be sure to follow those 3 steps in that order to help prevent further injury to yourself as an onlooker, and to get the best possible result for someone who is drowning. Number 5, if you can swim, you'll be able to save a life in the event of emergency. True or false? If you said false, you're right. So even the best swimmers might not know what to do if they encounter someone who is drowning. The Red Cross program, or any swimming program, obviously this says the Red Cross because I got it from their website, but any swimming program that can teach you water safety skills and knowledge is beneficial and is going to help you to know what to do if that situation ever arises. They have baby and preschool programs that teach how to supervise children to be around water and what children need to know about water as well. It also is recommended for adults to know CPR and those basic first aid courses as well. And the last question for this quiz that we're going to do is, your swimming performance in cold water is just as good as in warm water. So, true or false? Is just as good in cold water as it would be in warm water? If you said false, you would be right. In cold water, swimming performance is impaired. You can't swim as far. You're especially vulnerable if your PDF, or your life jacket, or personal flotation device, is not worn. So this is important because obviously we live in a country that has very fluctuating temperature ranges, and so this will make a big effect if you happen to be ice fishing or if you happen to be out near the water early spring or late fall when the water temperatures are colder. We do not perform the same in cold water. Our body tends to shut down to keep our vital organs warm and safe. Therefore, your muscles will fatigue quicker, and you will not perform as well in the water, even if you are a good swimmer. So that's the questionnaire. Again, there was one question that I didn't add to this because it didn't really pertain to children so much. But if you wanted to see the full quiz or to have your child or your family take the quiz, it is on the redcross.ca website. So let's talk about some stats. And these stats are taken again from Health Canada and the Red Cross website. So I don't know about you, but sometimes I think my children are ninjas. They can disappear like that, and they're stealthy and quiet about it. We all know it just takes a second when we turn our back for our child to be into something they're not supposed to be into. And this also goes for cases when it comes to drowning. It can only take a few seconds for your child to find some water and to potentially drown. And really, it only takes a few centimeters, just enough to cover the nose and the mouth. And obviously these typically happen in places such as backyard pools, toddler pools, the bathtub, or at the beach. Another stat is that small children are the most vulnerable group for near drownings. So not drowning but having near drowning. So this is ingesting water, maybe becoming unconscious because of a near drowning. And it's estimated that for every death there are 4 to 5 additional near drowning incidents, which require hospitalization and often can result in varying degrees of brain damage. So again, these are the results where you think everything may be okay because you got them out in time, they're breathing again, this is great. But if they went for certain periods of time without oxygen, it can definitely cause brain damage. It could also cause damage to their lungs and other organs if they've inhaled any water. Infants and toddlers drown mainly in bathtubs and pools, whereas older children and youth often drown in larger bodies of water, which seems pretty, it seems understandable because oftentimes our children are left unsupervised in places such as a bathtub or kiddie pool outside, whereas our older children, we often will bring them to the lakes or jumping in off of docks and things like that. So the question is so what do we do about this? Supervising your children, and we talked about this a little bit earlier on, we need to actively supervise our children. This means not being on our cell phones, not being on a device, not looking at a book or a magazine while our children are in the water. This includes the bathtub, kiddie pools outside, it could be in our backyard pool, it could be at the lake. If you can, be in the water with them in a pool or in a lake. So this brings me to my next point. Young children, inexperienced swimmers need to be within arm's reach. If you cannot literally reach out and grab them from where you are standing, you are too far away. It only takes seconds for them to slip under the water unnoticed and drowned. Again, drowning is not a dramatic effect. When we see drownings on TV shows such as Baywatch and things like that, oftentimes you'll hear people trying to yell for help, there'll be a lot of splashing. Real drowning doesn't look like that. Real drowning is very silent, and it can be very quick for a child to slip under the water and not be able to come back up for more air, and it can be very, very quick. So let's talk about swimming aids. So swimming aids are a really great tool to help children build confidence when they're swimming. Things such as armbands, such as water wings, floating seats, so inflatable tubes or those fun looking inflatable seats. Neck rings, you've seen the babies with like the inflatable neck rings. They also have the puddle jumpers, which go around the chest that have the arms on them as well. These are great tools to help children build confidence, but they also provide a very false sense of security to parents because they think, oh, they're fine, they're wearing their water wings. It is not a life-saving device. It is not a life jacket, a personal flotation device, a PFD, sorry. And it cannot be counted on to save your child's life. You still need to be actively supervising them while they're in the water, and better yet, be in the water with them. Let's talk about pools. So every year, children drowned in backyard pools. It's so important that you have a fence. If you have an above ground or built-in pool, it is extremely important to have a fence built around your pool that meets your municipalities, your cities, your government's regulations, and there are specific regulations on what that needs to look like. And it needs to go all the way around your pool. It also needs to have a self-closing and self-latching gate that will lock by itself when not in use. The other thing you should really consider for your pool is having a safety cover on your pool when it is not in use. I know they can be a pain in the butt to put on and take off, but it could give you seconds of time that may not be there if you weren't using it. If you are using a pool, this doesn't just go for built-in or in-ground pools. If you have a kiddie pool in your backyard, inflatable pools, anything like that, once you are done using them, it is recommended that you drain them. Or you have them in an area that is, again, locked up that children cannot get to by themselves. Because, again, it only takes centimeters of water. And this also goes for if you have, some people put out the plastic kiddie pools for their dogs and things like that. Anything like that, or water pools, you want to get rid of it if it's not being used, or supervise your children very actively around these bodies of water. Let's talk about diving in those pools. Again, we talked about diving in most pools is not recommended. Home pools, because it is not deep enough. This also goes for places such as hotels. Most places will say there is no diving. It's because that most times the pools are not built deep enough to accommodate diving. Always enter feet first. And bathing children. Okay, so let's talk about bathtubs. It's so hard as a parent to know how old is old enough to be in a bathtub by yourself. There's no correct answer here, but do know that when you're bathing your infants and toddlers, you need to remain in there at all times, and that children should not be relied on to watch their younger siblings, because they may not know what to do if a child slips under the water or there is something ingests water. They may not know how to act, and having you be there could be those valuable seconds that child needs to prevent injury or harm. So always be in the bathroom with your child if they're in the bathtub, and never leave, even if it's just for a moment, to go grab something or go do something. Again, it only takes seconds. We can get into a large debate as to what the proper age is or what the proper maturity level is. Honestly, there's no right answer, but do know if something does happen to your child, it would be a terrible feeling, knowing that you could have prevented that. And so it is important, and as a parent I always err on the side of caution. So again, staying in the bathroom is definitely easier than the consequences. Okay, so what can we do? So we talked about supervision in itself. So what can we do to kind of help our children and help ourselves be safer around water? So very first thing, and I kind of mentioned it before, is signing them up for a swimming and water safety program. Most communities, maybe not this year because of COVID, but most communities have some type of program. If you're fortunate enough to have a pool, you might even have programs all year round that you can sign your child up to. There are even some organizations that will offer free programs for those of you who might not be able to afford that. And sign yourself up for first aid training with basic life-saving skills. This will be a really beneficial course for numerous reasons, not only because of the swimming thing, but there's also a lot of other first aid and safety life-saving techniques that you would learn. So another thing is make sure your young children and inexperienced swimmers always wear an approved life jacket or personal flotation device when playing around the water. So not even in the water for sure, but even if they're at the beach and they're just playing around the water, if you're at camp and they're on the docks or wherever you might be, if they're playing around the water, you want to make sure they're in an approved life jacket. So choosing a safe place to swim. We are so fortunate in Northern Ontario. We have an abundance of beautiful lakes, rivers, streams that we can swim in. So knowing a safe place to swim. A lot of the public beaches are regularly checked by the public health submarine districts for bacteria levels and for safety levels as well. So if there is a sign posted saying that there is no swimming because of bacteria levels or for another safety reason, please abide by those signs. They're there for a reason. They're there to keep you safe, and it could lead to serious injury or harm if you do not follow those signs. The other thing you want to keep in mind is that water currents change depending on the season. In the spring, sometimes water is flowing faster because of melt off and things like that, or if there's a serious undertow. Always be aware of the signs. If you don't know where you're going, try and check it out ahead of time and know what you're getting into. Also, not jumping off of something, diving into the water without knowing how deep the water is, what's underneath there, is just not a safe option. Keeping life-saving equipment available. So this could be something such as a safety ring with a rope attached. This could also be something such as a pool noodle that you could use to reach out to somebody in a swimming pool. It could be a floating rope, just something for that person to grab a hold of if they are struggling. This is something you should have if you have a backyard pool. It should be available, readily available. If you're at a pool at a hotel, they will have these things available. Make yourself aware of where they are, where the telephone is to call for help before you even get into the water. That way you're not looking for it in a panic if something is happening. If you're going to a public beach that has a lifeguard tower, they usually have that attached to the tower, and the lifeguard usually carries something with them as well. If you're going to a beach that does not have it, sometimes they will have these devices, again, available to the public. And if not, it is always handy to have something yourself. Again, even having something tied to the end of a rope, a pool noodle, something that you could use to help that person come in if needed. And the last piece of advice that that we're going to talk about is toys. You see it a lot where kids are reaching for a toy and they fall into the water. It always seems to be the clip that they show for children's drownings because it is so true. So they always recommend take everything out of the pool when you're done playing in your pool. Take all of the toys out of the pool, because even a floating even the inflatable pools in your backyard or kiddie wading pools, pull all of the toys out of the pool. That way they're not available to children. If you have a bigger backyard pool, make sure you pull everything out and put it away so that children aren't tempted to enter the pool area or to try and reach into the pool to get that ball or toy that they see. This also goes for the beach. If you're done playing with certain toys near the water, be sure to move them in away from the water. Children will chase out after toys into the water and not really realize how dangerous that might be. And again, it only takes seconds for something to happen. They get knocked over by a wave and etc. etc. So biggest thing is, keep your toys away. If you're not sure, wear a life jacket. Always it gives you that extra time you need to get to your child, and actively supervise. Those are the big ones. So I hope I haven't left anything out. If I have, please feel free to comment on the video. Let me know if I've missed something, or if there's something that you like to do specifically to keep your children safe when you are around bodies of water. We'd love to hear that, and hopefully everyone has a very safe rest of the summer. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next week with some more Family Matters tips.